So welcome, Susanna. This is Susanna Esther, and we're going to go ahead and dive into her story, which is pretty amazing. I have to say it's one of my favorites of the book, Mastering Your Inner Game. Do you want to introduce yourself? I know you're a life coach, but you're a little bit more than that. Can you share with us what you do?
Well, yes, first of all, thank you for putting this together, Sean, and for having me. I am a freedom life coach, and what that means is I love helping women who are creative, soulful, powerful, to achieve freedom in their inner world, freedom from pain, shame, fear, trauma, and activate their purpose, their greatness within them, so that they can then release freedom in our world. And so I'm passionate about seeing that get lit up in people, and men, women, and children all alike, but especially I have a heart to work with women in that regard.
Well, thank you.
And especially regarding mind, soul, body, and spirit too, just activating the cohesive whole self.
Yeah, and your story is all about that, and it's one of my favorites. I mean, I have many favorites, but one of the things that I thought was a unique perspective that I haven't heard a lot about, and I appreciated your holistic approach. So why don't we start with just you telling a little bit about your story? What happened? Just how did it happen?
Yeah. So, well, in 2016, I was pregnant with my third child, and first of all, background that I do a lot of mindset. I've pursued a lot of mindset freedom in my own personal life, and two of those incidences were in pain-free childbirths with my second and third. And so my third pregnancy, I was, preparing for that and just really declaring affirmations over my body and my mind, and really just gearing up for that experience. And so I had already achieved that with my second child, and I was, going to, really activating it even in a greater way with my third. So one day when I woke up and the side of my face was entirely paralyzed and drooping, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this, And so I just, you can read more details in the book, but long story short, I just began to activate all four areas of myself, mind, soul, spirit, and body, into recovering healing for my face. And just one of the songs that I was sitting in the emergency room, and it was so crazy because the mindset work that I had already been doing over my body in preparation for birth, it so primed me and predisposed me for this challenge, because and I'm a firm believer of depositing truth into your life on a daily basis, because then when something happens and you're pushed against the wall, what squeezes out of you is going to be what carries you. And if we don't have enough good stuff coming in, then when we go through challenges, because life is going to give us adversities, whether we're recognizing it or not, when we go through that, then sometimes we get stuck in the pain and the trauma and the shame and the fear, because there's not enough flow happening of truth. And so I'm really grateful that I was already, I didn't plan that or whatever, but it's just a habit that I've been creating for myself to daily saturate myself.
So what does that look like when you say your truth? What is that, or bathing yourself in truth? What does that look like?
Well, there's a lot of so the counterfeit is the aliases that other people have put on us, or that we put on ourselves, such as, stupid, fat, not enough, I can't do this, or whatever. Those are all aliases. That's not our true name, right? So when we begin to understand who we truly are, and I firmly believe that can only come not by just, looking in ourselves, but also in alignment with our divine source. That is key, I believe, because we have the very DNA of God inside our physical bodies, inside our spiritual selves, inside our souls. So only when we collaborate and get in tandem with divine source can we vibrate at that same frequency as the divine source, right? So when we begin to just do that in a on a daily level of just aligning with the spoken word of God, or the Rhema word, which is like the impressions that you feel, or the spirit inside of you connecting with spirit to spirit, then that's where truth begins to resonate. You know, if you hit two notes and they're tuned correctly, then the resonance will be spot on, and there'll be note to note. It'll be a pure sound. But when it's not tuned correctly, then you'll hear dissonance. And that's the dissonance that we hear from the alias names, from the false self. So just continuing to tune into the true divine source, and allowing that to breed in our true self.
That's an interesting analogy about the sound. That's beautiful. So the lies are the things of the world that are not true about us, that we've taken on because people said it, believe it, for whatever reason. And the truth is actually the truth of what we actually are meant to be, who we are. And then you want to align those things so that everything, your spirit is with unity with spirit. Is what.
Yes, even in my statement earlier that I'm called to work with creative, soulful, powerful women. A lot of the women that I work with don't feel powerful initially, and they might feel like, oh well, I guess that's not me. But I'm calling what they already are, but they don't see it yet. You know what I'm saying? So even in that, it's like I'm calling that forth from them, that they are truly. They just haven't. They have to uncover it. And, you know, that's the work that we do together. So
is this part of your perspective? Because your title of your book is Power of Perspective. Is this part of the perspective of seeing things this way? Is this one piece of it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel that perspective, sight, vision, seeing, that is all part of one of my spiritual gifts that I bring.
Okay.
And just really seeing, almost kind of like an X-ray vision of seeing into the heart and the soul of people. That's why I say spirit, soul, seer. Seeing the gold that is there and calling that out. Sometimes we need those cheerleaders in our life, you know, those mentors that, like one of my mentors, Chris Valentin, said, you know, we need people to pour gasoline on our dreams and pour water on our fears. And something to that effect. I may not have gotten the wording quite right, but we need those people. And that's what I have thrived under mentors that have done that for me. And I, you know, want to be that for people.
So I have a question. So you have a gift, a spiritual gift, a seer gift to see inside of people's hearts and their souls. So maybe I said that wrong, but
it sounds kind of creepy that way. You.
X-ray. Okay, but you had you were pursuing a painless childbirth. Is this something that, I mean, are these kind of things possible for everybody, or just certain people? The ability to have a painless childbirth, or I mean, what? Yeah, explain that to me.
Only if you drink certain concoctions. No, I'm kidding. You know, yes and no. Okay. And that sounds like a crazy answer, but I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Yes, it's available for everybody, but not everybody. There's a lot of inner work. Let me say it this way: our spirit is. Our spirit operates, let's use this analogy of like, your spirit is kind of like a jet engine or a rocket, okay? It's launching at a different stratosphere. Your soul, each of our souls is given to us. Each of us, if you're breathing, you have a soul. And each of our souls, the work that we do in this lifetime, the work that we do, you know, while we're alive, is what causes our soul to either die or to grow. And our job on planet Earth, our job while we're here, is to cause our soul to mature and to grow to the level where it can run at the same stratosphere as our spirit. If you can get your soul to be running at that frequency of your spirit, then it's literally like the spirit and soul, the information and the revelation that passes from spirit to soul, become that barrier is permeable. Does that make sense? So I think that a lot of us have not done the work in our soul to unhinge ourselves from the lies, from the traumas, from the wounds in our soul that we cause to ourselves through choices that we've made, the choices that other people have done to us, and the and the choices that happen in the world, the news, the whatever, these are all wounds that get affected, that cause wounds on our soul. Our soul gets affected by that. If we are not actively doing healing and regenerating in that area, then our soul never reaches that place where we can, live at that greater level. That's never going to get achieved until we're not on planet Earth. But that's our work here, is to mature in our soul. So I think a lot of people that are highly spiritual, they can give content and information, but they're not functioning at a high level in their soul. And there you see the gap, the difference. So and other people are really powerful in their soul, but they're not fully tapping in the fullness in the spirit. You know what I'm saying? So there can be a disconnect. And I feel really passionate about bringing alignment in both of those areas, so that, because that's where true freedom lies.
So it's a combination of letting go of the old lies and all that. So being able to disconnect. So part of being able to have a pain-free childbirth or whatever would be disconnecting from those lies and being able to really release that. Is that part of it?
Part of it, yeah. Mindset wise, I had to do a lot of work of like believing that this is for me and this is possible. Because if I'm constantly thinking, I don't think this is going to work. Yeah. My brain is telling my body what to do with that, and my body's not going to, comply.
So this is all very fascinating. I feel like there's almost like another book coming for this, because there's so much. I felt that too in reading your story, just the short story that you had in the book. It was like every sentence, it felt like there was so much into it that you could actually program on this, or this is really fascinating.
Yeah, I would love to do a course on it. I just feel like just my heart is so full for women in general, and then just for women who have gone through so much pain in our lives, trauma and pain. And there's so many of us out there, right? And some of us have had courage to talk about some of it, and some of us are still shut down about it. And my heart aches for my sisters in that, for all people as well, but specifically my sisters. And so I would love to do a course that helps women to help unlock from that. In fact, I was talking to my therapist, who has helped me with a lot of my own trauma. And I was saying, I don't really want to be a trauma expert. And immediately goes, too late. I'm like, but at the same time, I knew that he was saying it as a way of, affirming the journey that I've come through. But whatever way I can help women to achieve freedom in those areas, not just in denying pain, or not just in buck up, buttercup. No, we're talking thrive. That's what we're designed for. And that's what I pursue that like a crazy woman. And I want to go after that for me, because I believe that that's not what I was created. I'm not created to just survive. I'm not created to just maintain. Life is way too precious for that. I'm created to thrive, dang it. And so are you. So I want to take some women with me.
This is one a totally different direction than what I expected. We haven't even talked about the miracle. We got to talk about the miracle. So
we'll get there.
Just talk about. So why don't can I just show a picture of what happened with your face?
Yeah.
You talk about the paralysis, and I thought maybe we can go back there, because that's what the story is about. So let me just see if I can share a screen. So this was a picture of you shortly after your face became paralyzed. Is that right?
Yeah. That was me on Father's Day in the emergency room. You see the hospital here in the background.
Okay.
So
sudden, there was no warning. You just woke up and you had a halfway paralyzed face. Is that
right? Well, there was some tingling that was happening prior to that, like the day before, but nothing like this. And then when I woke up, it was just like bam. Yeah. So you had been preparing for your. Let me get back here.
Let me get out of here. How do I get out of here? Stop share. So you had been preparing for your birth. This is right before you gave birth. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see I was quite pregnant.
Last month. Oh yeah, you were pretty pregnant.
Yeah.
And
10 days later, I ended up giving birth. Yeah.
And so talk to us about the prognosis, what the doctor gave you. What was the prognosis?
Yeah. So if you, in the book, I go into how it was Bell's palsy that had happened. Now, most people that end up getting Bell's palsy, a good majority of them, there's a scale of 1 to 6 of severity, and 6 being the worst. And most people generally fall within 1 to 3. And most people resolve their case resolves within about 30 days. The midwives that I was working with, they were giving me that feedback, like, oh, okay, most people, like it should resolve within a month, and just do what you need, do what you do, and just carry on and whatever. So they were giving me, medical literature to let me know what to do and whatever. But all the examples, all the pictures in those, peer-reviewed journals were far better looking than my face. Like, my face was worse than the examples of this in the medical journals. So that was not too comforting. And then when you have the midwives like, yeah, you're going to be just fine. They don't even fully believe what they're saying, because they're looking at my face going, girl, I don't even know if this is salvageable. So, so I decided I was going to meet with a neurologist, because I needed to get a customized diagnosis for my particular face. So when I met with him, what he had said, and he had seen several other cases similar to this with Bell's palsy and stuff. And what his diagnosis, he had me do several tests and whatnot. And at the end, he said, well, basically 80% of the nerves on the side are damaged, and you may not recover from that. If you have about 50 to 60% chance of recovering, of that chance of recovery, only 50% or so will be recovered. So it was not a very positive prognosis. And he said that generally would take anywhere from 9 months to a year and a half to even see that. So it was a quite severe case. And he said on a scale of 1 to 6, mine was a severity of 5, complete to near complete paralysis of my face. So it was not a typical situation by any stretch of the imagination. So I took his data, which is really what I went into his office with the mindset of that this is an expert in this area, and I'm just coming to get the data. And once I get the data, I go home, and I am around me more than anybody else. I am in charge of me more than anybody else. So I take that data and then put together a plan as to how I am going to overcome that. So, and I'm thankful for the professionals that we have in every field, but ultimately we have to decide, whose report we're going to believe.
And you've almost fully recovered. So you actually regenerated through. Talk to us about that. How that happened. You actually regenerated your nerves, or your nerves regenerated.
My nerves regenerated.
So
the thing is, he said the nerves were deadened and 80% of them were affected. And so what I did was I went home, because I went to him to get specific information.
Yeah.
And so I took that specific information. I went home, and from the body side of it, I addressed inflammation and ate foods that would decrease inflammation. I did not eat foods that would cause any inflammation in my body. And that's a whole different topic. We could get into that. And did, things, massaging with certain essential oils that helped to increase circulation and help decrease inflammation, all that kind of good stuff. So did that aspect on the physical level. And then mindset wise, I grabbed a hold of the concept that I would recover, because as a person who's been acting and modeling, and as a vocal coach, which I have done for 17 years, and then as a life coach, professional singer, like all of these aspects use my face, and that's part of my calling. That's part of what I'm here for. So I just got really indomitable about it. Like, this is not going to take me out. This is not going to shut down my voice. This is not going to shut down my calling. And sure, I could have still proceeded without, healing. I could have still decided, okay, I'm still going to have a positive attitude about it. But I just got clear that that's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be with the much more.
Mm-hmm.
And I went after that, like my name was on it. And I would visualize myself telling the story of my healing. I would visualize that while staring at the mirror with my face looking like that picture that you showed.
Yeah.
And I would visualize myself sharing the story of my healing. So I would pull that image from in the future and I'd pull it into my present by visualizing what that looked like for me to be healthy and whole.
To be whole. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so that was mindset wise. And then soul wise, music is a powerful conductor of the soul. And I sang songs. One of the songs that came to me to sing in that picture that you showed earlier was "It Is Well With My Soul," and that just bubbled up from inside of me when I was sitting there, giving my thumbs up. That thumbs up was something that came from a place of me bringing peace, soaking myself in peace over my soul. It was sort of a supernatural thing. It didn't make sense for me to give a thumbs up when I had no idea if I'd ever recover my face again. Right. So that was a result of the work I was doing in my soul to say, no, I'm taking charge of this, of how my soul is going to respond to this. I can choose how I'm going to respond to that. And I was declaring it is going to be well with my soul. It is well right now. And so that's what I was doing as far as that soul part was concerned. And then I was also just releasing forgiveness. And I was just really kind of doing a search, within myself. Is there any place I'm holding resentment or bitterness or unforgiveness? Any of those emotions cause wounds in our soul and cause us to, it's literally like, if you have an operating system on a computer, if you allow a virus in, then it can affect it, like malware. It can infect and affect your operating system. And your soul is kind of, that houses part of the operating system for us. And anytime we hold offenses and grudges and bitterness, resentment, and all of that, which every single one of us comes across that every day. So anytime that we hold on to that and we don't do the work of releasing, then it creates like chicken pox on our soul. It creates these, lesions on our soul. And so I was doing the work of releasing that so that there was no access point for anything that was not operating at that vibration level of the healing that I was going after. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Well, it does to me. I just find it also fascinating. I mean, I shared with you privately, but just that you hear of manifestation so much in the online world, but I've never heard it from a Christian perspective, from your perspective of the soul and all this. And so how did you learn this? And is there any way that people can find out more about this? Because I did a search. I remember once because I believe that these things can happen, and I did a search, and I just didn't find a whole lot out there. When I searched, I found almost nothing online about it. So how did you learn about all this?
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because you're right. There isn't a lot out there about it. And I aim to change that, frankly. I am so passionate about this because I didn't learn this from any other spiritual guru or any other person. I honest to God, learned it directly from divine source. My first encounter with that, or incident with that, was when I'd gone through a very painful time in my life and a lot of loss. And in that place, I felt that God was teaching me about obedience and pursuing, how to follow spirit, like when the spirit is leading in a certain direction, how to know and follow. And so that was something that I was learning back in 2002 at the time. That was just something that I felt like he was really just instilling in me. And so I was looking for, I was in a situation where I had my home was taken from me, and I was staying with my sister at the time temporarily. And I was about to look for a new apartment, and I kept on feeling that, and this is a whole another topic that we can go into, but I kept on feeling that God was impressing on me to look for a home. I kept on feeling the impression that I should buy a home. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that sounds great and all, but where am I going to get the money for? Like, mm-hmm. I'm trying to do the responsible thing and look for an apartment. Like, I don't have money for a house, And so at the time, it was just ludicrous. It didn't make any sense. So I was out shopping for apartments. Every time I would be out looking at an apartment, I kept feeling this check inside me, like, what are you doing? You need to be looking for a house. I was like, that doesn't make any sense, So then fast forward, I was at home in between. I was like working 3 jobs at the time, and I was at home like in between one of my jobs and having a quick lunch, and I saw this program on TV, and it was some televangelist that was doing some fundraiser. And immediately I was like, oh my God, like, that kind of stuff just turns me off, right? So I was over here having my reaction, and immediately I felt the thought, I felt what the Spirit was speaking to my spirit and was saying, what he said was, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Get up and write the check. Mm. I was like, I know that's not my brain talking, Mm-hmm. So regardless of the method in which this was coming, the process that he was teaching me was obedience and how to obey, even if it doesn't make sense in my head, it doesn't fit within my timetable or whatever, to obey. So what I did was I got intentional. So intention combined with faith is what makes magic or manifestation or whatever. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I got up from eating my lunch, and I got my checkbook, and I wrote the check out for the amount that I sensed that I was to write. Whether I agreed with this delivery, the person, or whatever, that's not my business anymore. My business is to follow that lead. So I wrote out the check, and I walked to the end of the block, and I dropped it in the mail, and I came back and I sat down. I actually changed the channel and then I finished my lunch. So it wasn't necessarily about the content that they were talking about. It was about me following, leading. Mm-hmm. And so I went and did that. I think it was like $50 or $57 or something, whatever. So it wasn't a huge, monetary thing. And 2 hours later, I was out looking for apartments again. And I get a call from an attorney that had been working on stuff from my car accident where my pelvis was twisted from that accident. He had been working on some stuff, and he calls me on the phone 2 hours later. He said, I'm not really sure how this happened so quickly, but we just got the settlement for your car accident, and basically I have a check here at the office for you for $13,000. Let me know when you want to pick it up. 2 freaking hours later, from writing a $57 check and manifested $13,000. And as soon as I hung up the phone, I felt like God was like, here's your down payment, girl. I had your back. I told you. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy how this works, And I ended up, how I bought the house and all that is a whole nother story, but it's just crazy. Just, I ended up 2 years later, sold that house, made money, paid off all my debts. It was just like in the place of loss where things were taken from me, when I was able to forgive those people that had done that and release, and then God was like, I want you to do this. And I was like, that doesn't make sense, but I did it. And I did it right away. Like I stopped eating my food and went and did it and came back. And it wasn't about, it wasn't about that televangelist. It wasn't about what they were saying. It was about me obeying and following, not just obeying, because sometimes that word can be kind of trigger to do things, but like it was about me following Spirit when Spirit leads. So that's how I started learning this stuff, this and that. And then there's other stuff that happened with that home and other things that just, it was building upon all of those things. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You are a wealth of more than information, inspiration. So there's more to come, I'm sure. Sounds.
Oh, yeah.
So we are running out of time, unfortunately. So I wanted to give you an opportunity. You have a gift for people. So I wanted to make sure you can share about that, as well as how they can get in touch with you to learn more about your mindset work and helping through these, releasing the trauma.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah. Well, my gift that I want to give people, the thing that I felt called to really put out there was to help people make that exchange from fear to freedom. And I'm passionate about people walking and activating that freedom within us. So my gift to you is a 5-step, it really simple, but 5-step guide that helps you to activate that freedom in your life. And it helps you to release those things that are holding you back, and then how to create certain patterns in your life that activate that freedom in your life. So you can either go to my website at susannaesther.com, or you can email if you're on the virtual summit, or from the book, you can also email susannaesthercoach@gmail.com. And let me know how you found out about it, whether it was through this virtual summit or what. And I will happily get that over to you for free. And yeah, and then also you can find me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Susanna Esther. You can find me on there. Any information about upcoming courses and content will be posted on there as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so how would someone know if they're like a good fit for you? Like, what kind of people come to you? Is it mostly people who are having trauma, or are they just having difficulty in their lives and then you dig deeper, or how does that work?
Well, I find that the people that are really creative and soulful, they resonate a lot with me, because that's something that I carry as well. And I find that a lot of times people that are very creative, we are also very perceptive and very sensitive in our emotions, in our soul. And so there's a lot more soul work that is ours to do, because we are feelers, we're sensors, and operate on that realm. And when people can bring healing into that space, in whatever your art is, whether it's acting, film producer, director, scrapbooker, writer, whatever your thing is, when you can bring your healed self to that, then your thriving self will, automatically just draw the things that you need to you. It's magnetic, right? So yeah, I want to help those who are maybe feeling locked up in their creative gifts. I believe all of us are creative, every person, because the DNA of the creator is in us. So you are a creator, you are creative, whether you think you are or not. And many of us have those creative gifts locked up, like I had for many, 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 many years. I had my creative gifts locked up. And so I aim to help women to unlock that and to really walk out in your greatest destiny.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. Is there any last words you have for us before we sign off? Anything else you want to say? Or if not, we can.
Just to not give up. I think that it can be so easy when we're in our pain, when we're in our trauma, when we see other women that are pursuing what we want. It can be easy to get jealous, to get into a place of hate, of tearing down, criticizing. And I just want to say, love yourself even in that place of like being jealous or criticizing or hating yourself or others, or thinking that's not for me, that might be for her because she's done X, Y, and Z, but I haven't, so that's not for me. No, if you are hearing this and you're under the sound of my voice, this is for you. This is for you because you're an heir to the creator of the universe. Like, the universe has your back, but the creator of the universe is your papa. So you're an heir, and this is for you. So I really want to activate that in women, in people in general. I do that in small ways with my kids every day. So I love doing that for kids. And men, we need men to really rise up to this place of understanding their identity as well. But I feel so called to do that for my sisters, my girls. So.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you putting this together, and love your story as well. So excited for all of us.